Disclaimer: this video contains discussions of real criminal cases and sensitive subject matter. It is created for educational and documentary purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. It begins like any other ordinary morning, but for one young woman, it would be her last known moment in this world. Jennifer Kesse was just 24 years old, a woman full of life, love, and plans for the future. She had everything going for her: a successful career, a devoted boyfriend, a new condo, and dreams that stretched far beyond the Florida skyline. But on one quiet January morning in 2006, Jennifer vanished without a trace, leaving behind a world of questions and a family whose hearts would never be whole again. It wasn't a night filled with danger. There were no screams, no struggle, no signs of chaos, just a bright, ambitious woman who disappeared between the space of a goodnight phone call and the next sunrise. This is the haunting story of the Jennifer Kesse disappearance, a case that continues to torment investigators, confound experts, and shatter the peace of a family who refuses to give up hope. Jennifer had just returned from a romantic trip to St. Croix with her boyfriend, Rob Allen. The trip was a brief escape from the demands of her busy job as a finance manager in Orlando. She was rested, happy, and planning to get back to work the next day. On the evening of January 23, 2006, she spoke with her parents, Drew and Joyce, and everything seemed perfectly normal. She laughed, she talked about her plans for the week, and then she called Rob before going to bed. But something about that night, the air, the silence, the stillness, would become a permanent scar on time. When Jennifer failed to show up for work the next morning, her boss called her parents. She had never missed a day without notice. Drew and Joyce Kesse immediately knew something was wrong. This wasn't like Jennifer. She was responsible. She was careful. She was cautious about everything in her life, even the smallest details. By the afternoon, Jennifer's phone was going straight to voicemail. Her parents drove the 2 hours from their home in Tampa to her Orlando condo. What they found was the kind of scene that leaves investigators speechless. Inside her apartment, everything looked as if Jennifer had just stepped out for work. The towel in the bathroom was still damp. Makeup was laid out neatly. The clothes from the night before were on the bed, as if she had chosen her outfit and then disappeared mid-routine. There was no forced entry, no overturned furniture, no signs of a struggle. Just a locked door, an eerie calm, and a sense that something terrible had interrupted a normal morning. Her phone, keys, purse, and car were gone. It was as if Jennifer had vanished into thin air. Her parents immediately reported her missing. But police initially treated it as a standard missing person case, believing she might have gone away on her own or was taking time off. They didn't know Jennifer Kesse. That was never her nature. Within 24 hours, as hours turned into sleepless nights, everyone knew this wasn't a simple disappearance. This was an abduction. 2 days later, a major discovery reignited hope and horror. Jennifer's black Chevy Malibu was found parked about a mile away from her apartment at another housing complex called Huntington on the Green. The car looked undisturbed, parked in an orderly manner, as if someone had carefully placed it there. Inside were Jennifer's personal belongings, a DVD player she had recently bought, some papers, and other everyday items. But still no phone, no keys, no Jennifer. Detectives immediately retrieved security footage from the complex. And what they found became one of the most chilling and frustrating pieces of evidence in modern true crime history. The footage showed Jennifer's car being parked at the location around noon on the day she vanished. Then a shadowy figure, calm, composed, and deliberate, walks away from the car, it could have been the break they needed, but fate had other plans. Just as the figure's face turned toward the camera, the security gate posts aligned perfectly. Each frame of the footage captured the person's face blocked by the bars. 3 consecutive frames. 3 exact moments where their identity was hidden from the world. It was as if the universe itself had concealed the truth. Even the FBI most advanced image enhancement could not reveal who that person was. Investigators described them as between 5'3" and 5'5", possibly wearing white or light colored clothing and with a steady, confident walk. But beyond that, nothing. No one has ever identified the figure who walked away from Jennifer's car that day. The weeks that followed were filled with pain, confusion, and endless searching. Jennifer's family organized volunteers, plastered her photos across Florida, and worked tirelessly with detectives. But with each passing day, leads grew cold, and the trail faded into dust. Detectives interviewed coworkers, ex-boyfriends, and construction workers from the condo complex where Jennifer lived. Her family recalled that Jennifer had voiced concerns about the workers before, many of them unfamiliar, often watching her as she walked by. Some even made her uncomfortable enough to call her parents about it. Was one of them responsible, or was someone waiting for her that morning? Someone who knew her routine, who knew she left for work around 7:30 a.m. Cadaver dogs picked up her scent briefly near the complex where her car was found, but it vanished abruptly, suggesting that the person responsible may have gotten into another vehicle nearby. There were no witnesses, no noise, no struggle, just silence. For the Kesse family, that silence became unbearable. Days turned into months, months into years, and still not a single clue could answer what happened to their daughter. They pressed the Orlando Police Department for updates, but the case soon grew stagnant. Too many leads, too little evidence, too much time lost, so they took matters into their own hands. Jennifer's family launched their own investigation, hiring private detectives and retracing every possible step. They discovered flaws in the early police work, mishandled evidence, uncollected fingerprints, and witnesses who were never re-interviewed. Still, they pressed on. In 2018, 12 years after Jennifer's disappearance, her family took the extraordinary step of suing the Orlando Police Department to gain access to her full case file. After a long legal battle, they finally received over 16 zero pages of documents, photos, and videos. But what they found only deepened their heartbreak. Among the pages were reports suggesting that critical leads weren't followed up on, and that construction workers, some undocumented and later untraceable, had been loosely interviewed and released. There were inconsistencies, missing records, and missed opportunities that might have made all the difference if caught sooner. Despite all of this, Jennifer's case remains one of the most haunting cold cases in America. Every possible theory has been explored: a random abduction, a crime of opportunity, a targeted attack, even the possibility of human trafficking. But every path seems to circle back to that same impossible mystery: the woman who disappeared without a trace. Jennifer's family still holds on to hope. Her father once said someone knows something and that someone will eventually come forward. Every year they mark another anniversary, another reminder that Jennifer is still missing, still out there somewhere. Her face has been shared across television networks, podcasts, documentaries, and billboards. Her story has been featured on Dateline NBC, 20/20, and countless investigative series. And yet, the truth remains buried, locked somewhere between the silence of that morning and the shadow of the figure who walked away from her car. The Jennifer Kesse disappearance is more than just a mystery. It's a tragedy wrapped in unanswered questions. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary moments can turn into nightmares. Jennifer's life was full of promise, and her family refuses to let her memory fade. To them, she's not a missing person. She's a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a soul whose story still matters. The camera may have failed to capture her abductor's face, but it captured something deeper, a haunting image of how fragile safety can be and how easily someone can vanish, without a sound, without a witness, and without a trace. Our thoughts remain with the Kesse family and all who continue to fight for answers. Jennifer's story reminds us to stay vigilant, to speak up when something feels wrong, and to never stop searching for the truth. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse, please contact the Orlando Police Department or the Kesse family tip line. When the official investigation began to stall, the Kesse family decided that waiting for answers was no longer an option. What had started as a desperate search quickly turned into a personal mission, a relentless pursuit for truth, even if they had to uncover it themselves. Jennifer's disappearance wasn't just another case file. It was a daughter taken from her family, a promising life cut off without reason, and the silence from law enforcement only deepened the wound. So they started again, one lead, one piece of evidence, one unanswered question at a time. By 2008, 2 years had passed since Jennifer vanished. The Orlando Police Department had followed hundreds of leads, yet every path seemed to loop back to nothing. Her parents, Drew and Joyce Kesse, refused to let her become another unsolved name in a stack of cold case folders. They began reaching out to private investigators, retired detectives, forensic specialists, and anyone willing to re-examine the evidence without bias or bureaucratic limits. The private team revisited every piece of Jennifer's life in the weeks before she disappeared. They found no evidence of distress, no enemies, no dangerous acquaintances, no financial issues. Jennifer was thriving. She had just been promoted, was considering moving in with her boyfriend, and was living a life filled with optimism. But something subtle had been overlooked. Jennifer's condo complex, Mosaic at Millenia, was under heavy renovation at the time. Dozens of transient construction workers were on site daily. Many didn't speak English, and few had been properly documented or vetted. Jennifer had mentioned to both her parents and her boyfriend that some of the men made her uncomfortable. She once confided that she felt watched. Could someone from that group have been waiting for her that morning? Someone who had observed her habits, her timing, her vulnerability? The private investigators began dissecting the footage from Huntington on the Green, the parking lot where Jennifer's car was abandoned. They analyzed the suspect's movements frame by frame. Though the figure's face was perfectly concealed by the gate posts, the posture, stride, and behavior spoke volumes. The person moved with confidence, not panic. There was no rush, no hesitation. It was as if they knew exactly what they were doing and exactly where to go next. Police later confirmed that the driver had parked the car around noon on the day Jennifer disappeared. That meant whoever abducted her kept her long enough to drive her vehicle there in broad daylight. Dogs tracked a scent from the driver's seat but lost it at a nearby walkway. Suggesting the person entered another vehicle and left the area immediately. There were no fingerprints, no DNA, no usable evidence inside the car. The only clear clue was the distance. The Huntington on the Green complex wasn't random. It was known to be frequented by construction and maintenance workers from nearby sites. Could the driver have had a connection to both locations? As years passed, 3 main theories continued to circulate. The stranger abduction theory: Jennifer was taken by someone who had been watching her movements closely. possibly a worker or stranger who lived nearby. This theory gained strength given her previous concerns about being watched. The inside connection theory, some speculated that Jennifer may have known her abductor, or at least recognized them enough to open her door or approach her car without fear. Her apartment showed no sign of forced entry, suggesting she may have let the person in voluntarily, or was caught off guard just as she was leaving for work. The targeted crime theory, a less common theory, suggests Jennifer may have been kidnapped for trafficking, given the precision of her disappearance and the lack of forensic traces. While no solid evidence supports this, the methodical nature of her abduction raises unsettling possibilities. Each theory pointed in a different direction, but they all shared one cruel truth: Jennifer was gone, and whoever was responsible had erased every visible trace. By 2010, hope had begun to fade for many, but not for her family. They appeared on national platforms: Dateline NBC, 48 Hours, and America's Most Wanted. They told Jennifer's story again and again, refusing to let her name be forgotten. Drew and Joyce traveled across the state meeting detectives, forensic experts, and advocates for the missing. They pressed for new technologies, better data sharing, and cold case reviews, but as the years dragged on, the reality grew harsher. The case was still classified as unsolved with no leads. The hardest part wasn't the absence of closure, it was the lack of movement. Family knew that time erodes evidence and memories fade, witnesses move away, records get lost. To Jennifer's family, every day that passed without progress felt like another theft, another day stolen from their daughter's memory. In 2018, 12 years after Jennifer's disappearance, the Kesse family made a bold decision. They sued the Orlando Police Department, demanding access to all of Jennifer's case records. They believed that buried within the thousands of pages of evidence were overlooked details that could reignite the investigation. After a long and emotional legal battle, the family won. They were handed 16,000 pages of police documents, including photographs, videos, and reports that had never been seen publicly. It was overwhelming, but for the first time, they felt they were taking back control. Among the files, they found notes suggesting that many leads had been dropped prematurely. Interviews were incomplete. Some workers at the condo had never been properly vetted. Others who might have left the country were never traced. Even more troubling, some pieces of evidence were missing or had never been tested with newer DNA methods. The family's private investigators pored over the material, identifying inconsistencies and potential oversights. But while the new findings painted a clearer picture of procedural errors, they still didn't bring Jennifer home. In the years that followed, new technology rekindled old hope. Advances in DNA genealogy, forensic imaging, and artificial intelligence offered possibilities that hadn't existed in 2006. The Kesse family authorized private labs to review remaining evidence using these updated techniques. They hoped that microscopic DNA, or even trace materials, might yield a genetic profile. Facial reconstruction experts also revisited the surveillance video, experimenting with AI enhancement tools. While early results offered slightly clearer outlines, the image still wasn't sharp enough to reveal an identity. It was the same haunting figure, the same calm stride, the same faceless silhouette slipping away forever. Today, Jennifer's disappearance remains one of the most infamous missing person cases in the state's history. For those who study it, her case stands as both a tragedy and a warning, a lesson in how fragile safety can be, even in the most ordinary circumstances. She was not living a reckless life. She was not in danger, and yet she was taken. Her family's persistence has since inspired new advocacy for missing adults nationwide. They've pushed for improvements in how police handle early reports, urging authorities to take adult disappearances as seriously as those involving children. To this day, the Kesse family still runs a dedicated website, tip line, and outreach programs. Every year, they renew their plea for information because someone, somewhere, still knows what happened. Jennifer's father once said that the hardest part isn't the not knowing, it's the emptiness that fills every day after. The unanswered questions, the constant wondering, was she scared? Did she know her abductor? Is she still out there somewhere, waiting to be found? For Drew and Joyce Kesse, the fight will never end until those questions are answered. Jennifer was more than a name in a file. She was laughter around a dinner table, a sister's confidant, a daughter's warmth. Her absence has left a permanent silence in every corner of their home, and yet, amid that silence, there is still hope. Hope that a witness will remember something forgotten. I hope that a new forensic technique will uncover what old methods missed. I hope that one day Jennifer will come home. Our hearts remain with the Kesse family. Their unyielding courage in the face of heartbreak is a reminder that love can outlast time, silence, and tragedy. May Jennifer's story continue to inspire justice, awareness, and compassion for all who are still missing. In the years following Jennifer Kesse's disappearance, her family's fight for justice became more than a personal mission, it became a movement. They refused to let her story fade into the background noise of cold cases that time too often forgets. For most families, 18 years of silence would have broken them, but for Drew and Joyce Kesse, it only fueled their determination. Every unanswered question, every ignored lead, every sleepless night, all of it became their reason to keep pushing forward. They believed that somewhere, buried beneath years of dust and bureaucracy, the truth was still waiting to be found. By 2019, with the case files finally in their hands, the Kesse family hired a new team of private investigators experts in missing persons, criminal profiling, and forensic reconstruction. Their task was monumental: to reanalyze every shred of evidence with fresh eyes and modern technology. The first step was to reconstruct Jennifer's final 24 hours with precision. Her last confirmed contact was the phone call with her boyfriend around 10 p.m. on January 23, 2006. The following morning, she was expected at work but never arrived. Between those hours, something or someone had intervened. Investigators created a digital map of Jennifer's movements, tracking cell tower pings, known locations, and surveillance points from surrounding areas. The analysis revealed that her phone went completely silent overnight, shutting off at a time when she would typically still be awake. That sudden blackout suggested that whatever happened occurred closer to night than morning. Then came the most troubling discovery. The next day, her car was moved and parked around noon hours after she likely disappeared. The calm and deliberate behavior of the unknown person caught on camera supported the theory that this wasn't a panic-driven crime. It was methodical, planned. In 2020, the Kesse family authorized the use of advanced forensic imaging to reprocess the infamous surveillance footage from the Huntington on the Green complex. With new AI-driven enhancement tools, investigators attempted to digitally fill in the obscured frames, the ones that had hidden the suspect's face behind the security gate bars. The results were both fascinating and frustrating. While the enhancements revealed sharper details of the person's build and clothing, possibly a uniform or work attire, the individual's face remained unrecoverable. Technology could only go so far when working from such limited frames. But the process wasn't a total loss. Forensic gait analysis specialists, using advanced modeling techniques, examined the suspect's walking pattern, the length of their stride, the rotation of the hips, the arm swing. The analysis suggested that the individual might have been male, relatively short, and possibly younger than previously believed, perhaps in their early 20s at the time. If true, this detail could shift the focus back toward younger workers or individuals connected to the construction sites near Jennifer's home. Next, the family's team revisited the physical evidence, particularly Jennifer's car. While Orlando police had processed the vehicle in 2006, forensic methods at the time were limited compared to modern capabilities. Private labs re-examined the interior for trace DNA, microscopic skin cells, fibers, or hair that might have been missed before. The challenge, however, was contamination. After so many years, the car had been handled by multiple people, making it nearly impossible to isolate a single viable profile. Still, every small test offered hope. Every fiber, every fingerprint smudge, every possible trace was reanalyzed with 21st century precision, and though no breakthrough came, the Kesse family believed that one could still emerge. With each passing year, DNA science advances, and with it, the chance that even the smallest biological clue could unlock the truth. The mosaic at Millennia Condos, once Jennifer's sanctuary, had changed drastically over the years. New tenants, new owners, new construction, but to the family and investigators it would forever be the scene of a haunting mystery. When private investigators returned there years later, they interviewed long-term residents and former employees. Some recalled vague memories of suspicious activity during the time Jennifer disappeared, workers who suddenly stopped showing up, vehicles that didn't belong, or maintenance staff seen wandering near Jennifer's unit. While none of these accounts led to concrete evidence, they painted a troubling picture that Jennifer may have been targeted by someone who knew her routines, who saw her daily movements, and who had the access and opportunity to strike quietly. Her disappearance, they believed, wasn't random. It was personal, calculated by someone who had watched and waited. In the 2010s, Jennifer's case found new life in the age of social media and true crime storytelling. Podcasts, documentaries, and online investigators took up her story, re-examining every timeline, every statement, every theory. The exposure reignited public interest, drawing in thousands of amateur sleuths and digital forensics enthusiasts from around the world. Some analyzed the suspect footage frame by frame, posting theories online. Others compared similar missing person cases in Florida, wondering if a serial offender could have been involved. With every new piece of attention came renewed hope and a reminder that Jennifer's story was far from forgotten. Her family used this platform to not only spread awareness, but also to advocate for better investigative transparency. They encouraged families of other missing persons to keep fighting, to demand access, and to never let bureaucracy bury their loved ones' stories. Jennifer's name became a symbol of persistence, a light for those still trapped in the darkness of unanswered questions. As of today, Jennifer Kesse's case remains unsolved. No arrests, no suspects publicly named, no confirmed trace of her existence since that January morning in 2006. But her impact endures. Her family's relentless pursuit of truth has influenced how missing adult cases are handled across the country. Their lawsuit against the Orlando Police Department has been cited by advocates as a pivotal example of why families deserve full transparency when investigations go cold. The Kesses transformed grief into advocacy, creating awareness campaigns, hosting community events, and funding research into new forensic tools that could help other families find answers. Jennifer's story, though filled with heartbreak, has saved others from being forgotten. What truly happened to Jennifer Kesse between that last phone call and the moment her car appeared at Huntington on the Green? Was it a stranger who had watched her from the shadows? A worker who saw an opportunity? Or someone she knew, someone who hid behind familiarity until it was too late? The world may never know, but one thing remains certain. Jennifer's disappearance is not the end of her story. Because somewhere out there, the truth still exists, waiting for the day when science, courage, or conscience brings it into the light. 18 years later, Jennifer's family continues to speak her name. They continue to tell her story not as a tragedy, but as a promise that they will never stop searching, a promise that silence will never win, and a promise that one day justice will finally find its way home. For Jennifer Kesse, for every missing person who still waits to be found, our hearts remain with the Kesse family. Their faith and perseverance are a beacon of strength for countless others enduring the same pain. May Jennifer's story continue to inspire action, compassion, and the pursuit of truth until the day her mystery is finally solved. There's a certain kind of silence that comes after years of unanswered questions, the kind that seeps into the walls of a home, the kind that turns every ringing phone into a heartbeat of hope. For the Kesse family, that silence became both their greatest torment and their greatest motivation. 18 years, no body, no confession, no closure, but also no surrender, because when the world moved on, they didn't. When the headlines faded, they stayed, and when the investigation stalled, they began one of their own. This is what happens when love refuses to give up. The disappearance of Jennifer Kesse didn't just take a daughter, it took peace from everyone who loved her. Her parents, Drew and Joyce, found themselves caught in a daily cycle of grief and determination. They lived every day between two worlds, one filled with hope and the other with the unbearable possibility that Jennifer was gone forever. Her brother, Logan, was just 21 when she vanished. He described life after her disappearance as a wound that never closes. Every memory of Jennifer, every laugh, every shared secret became a reminder of what was lost and what still needed to be found. The Kesses refused to let Jennifer's absence become her legacy. They transformed their pain into purpose, speaking out for missing persons, appearing on national news networks, and pushing for systemic change in how such cases are handled. But behind every camera interview and public appearance, there was heartbreak, an empty chair at family dinners, unopened Christmas cards, birthdays marked not with candles, but with unanswered prayers. Over the years, Jennifer's case struck a chord with millions. She wasn't a celebrity, nor was she living a dangerous life. She was a young woman doing everything right, educated, responsible, loved, and full of promise. That's what made her story so terrifying. It could have been anyone. Her disappearance became a national conversation about safety, trust, and how easily someone can vanish in plain sight. As more people learned about Jennifer's story, communities across America began to re-examine how missing adult cases were treated and how many of them were quietly slipping through the cracks. The Kesses' persistence forced law enforcement agencies to rethink their priorities. Many departments began updating their missing persons protocols, adopting new technologies, and improving collaboration between agencies. Jennifer's name, once attached only to tragedy, became a rallying cry for change. Through their relentless fight, Drew and Joyce Kesse became symbols of advocacy. They spoke at events and partnered with organizations dedicated to finding the missing. Their message was simple but powerful: never wait, never assume, never stop looking. They called for faster responses when adults go missing, emphasizing that too many investigations are delayed because of outdated assumptions that adults leave voluntarily. Jennifer's case proved that not everyone who vanishes chooses to. Their voice gave strength to countless families who had been silenced by bureaucracy or disbelief. Parents, siblings, and friends of missing adults began to contact them, seeking guidance, finding comfort in the fact that someone else understood their pain. The Kesses didn't just fight for Jennifer. They fought for all the Jennifers still out there, unseen, unheard, unaccounted for. For the Orlando community, Jennifer's disappearance was more than a local mystery. It was a haunting reminder of vulnerability. Neighbors began checking on one another more often. Apartment complexes upgraded security. People who once dismissed true crime stories as distant nightmares began to see themselves in Jennifer's shoes. The case changed the atmosphere of an entire city. Teachers discussed it with their students as a warning. Parents reminded their daughters to trust their instincts, to be aware, to listen to the uneasy feeling that Jennifer once described having in her own home. Her story didn't just live in headlines, it lived in the hearts of everyone who heard it. Before Jennifer Kesse, missing adult cases often faced a slow start. Police departments across the country followed outdated assumptions that adults have the right to disappear. And that time should pass before treating the case as suspicious. But Jennifer's case exposed how deadly that delay could be, because in disappearances like hers, every hour matters, every footprint fades. Every camera overwrites itself, every witness forgets a face. Her family's unrelenting advocacy helped spark a new wave of reform in Florida and beyond. Law enforcement agencies began integrating advanced databases for quicker alerts, improving interagency communication, and expanding the use of early forensic testing. Cold case units also began collaborating more closely with independent experts, something once viewed as interference. Jennifer's story reminded the world that a family's voice is not an obstacle to an investigation, it's often the reason it continues at all. For Drew and Joyce, hope is both a weapon and a wound. Every time the phone rings, it carries the weight of two possibilities: relief or heartbreak. But they answer anyway. They answer because they believe that one day someone will call with the right tip, the right name, the right piece of truth that unlocks everything. They believe that someone out there still knows what happened to Jennifer. Maybe it's guilt that keeps them silent. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's time. But time changes people, and one day, silence might finally break. Until then, the Kesses continue their search. They continue telling Jennifer's story year after year, because stories keep people alive. Jennifer Kesse would be in her 40s today, perhaps married, with children, living the life she had worked so hard to build. But instead, she remains frozen in time, her photo forever capturing the young, radiant woman who smiled without knowing she would become a mystery that haunts America. Yet, her story has done something remarkable. It has taught families to speak up. It has taught investigators to listen. And it has shown the world that love, true, unconditional love, can outlast even the deepest tragedy. Because Jennifer's story isn't just about disappearance. It's about presence, the presence of a family's courage, of a community's compassion, and of a world still searching for justice. 18 years have passed since Jennifer Kesse vanished, but her story is far from over. Somewhere, someone knows what happened. Somewhere, the truth still waits. Until that day, the Kesse family will keep her memory alive in every interview, every vigil, every plea for justice. Because even though Jennifer is gone, her light still burns in the hearts of those who refuse to let her be forgotten. And as long as that light remains, so does hope. To Jennifer's family, Drew, Joyce, and Logan, may your strength continue to guide others through the darkness of uncertainty. Your fight for truth is a testament to love that never dies, and Jennifer's spirit lives on through every person touched by her story. Time may dull memories, but it does not erase them. And in the years since Jennifer Kesse vanished, her story has transcended the boundaries of a single case. It has reshaped the way America thinks about missing persons, forensic technology, and the meaning of justice itself. Because Jennifer's disappearance did not just take one woman, it awakened a nation. In the early 2000s, the tools available to investigators were limited. Security cameras produced grainy footage, DNA testing was time-consuming, and digital tracking was in its infancy. But today, technology has become the heartbeat of modern investigations, a force capable of resurrecting even the coldest of cases. Advances in forensic genealogy, AI video enhancement, and digital data mining have changed everything. Crimes once thought unsolvable are being cracked open decades later. Family trees are being traced backward to identify unknown suspects through distant relatives, and faces once hidden in shadows are being revealed by algorithms that didn't exist when Jennifer disappeared. Jennifer's case has become a reference point in this evolution, a symbol of what persistence and technology can achieve when they work hand in hand. Private forensic experts who studied her file continue to push for reanalysis using touch DNA and advanced genetic genealogy databases, believing that one microscopic trace from her car or condo could identify her abductor. Even the haunting surveillance footage, that tragic sequence of 3 blocked frames, is being re-examined by AI-based reconstruction tools that can interpolate missing visual data with astonishing accuracy. It's not just science advancing, it's hope advancing with it. Jennifer's disappearance ignited a cultural shift in how the public views missing person cases. Once considered private tragedies, such cases are now collective missions, amplified by online communities and digital investigators who refuse to let them fade. The era of silence has been replaced by an era of voices. True crime documentaries, podcasts, YouTube creators, and online sleuths have given missing persons stories global visibility. People who never knew Jennifer now know her name, her smile, her story. They share her face across platforms, discuss her case in forums, analyze her timeline on social media, and in doing so, they keep her memory alive. This digital movement has already solved cases that law enforcement alone could not by crowd, sourcing analysis, identifying new witnesses, and bringing pressure where bureaucracy once failed. Jennifer's case became part of this new phenomenon, the public as investigators, strangers becoming allies, and awareness becoming a tool of justice. Jennifer's story is not just about one woman who disappeared. It's about the system that had to evolve because of her. Her disappearance revealed painful truths about how adults who go missing are often dismissed in the early hours that can mean the difference between life and death. But because of Jennifer, that perception began to change. Her family's relentless fight showed that every missing adult deserves the same urgency as a missing child. Every absence deserves immediate action. New training programs were introduced across police departments, emphasizing the critical first 48 hours rule for adult disappearances. Many agencies began to integrate real-time data sharing, rapid media alerts, and collaborations with private investigators, practices that were once discouraged. Jennifer's name has been mentioned in academic studies, investigative training materials, and national awareness campaigns. She has, in many ways, changed the very foundation of how America looks for its missing. For every unsolved disappearance, there are families just like the Kesse's people who become investigators, advocates, and storytellers out of necessity. They spend years chasing answers, living with the same grief, replaying the same questions. What really happened? Why? How could someone vanish so completely? But Jennifer's family turned that grief into something extraordinary. Their voice became a lifeline for others. Their persistence became proof that love can defy even the darkest mysteries. In Florida and across the country, new organizations have risen inspired by families like the Kesses, offering counseling, legal support, and investigative assistance to those whose loved ones are missing. Because when one family refuses to give up, others find the courage to do the same. In every missing person case, time is the enemy. Leads grow cold, witnesses vanish, memories blur. But what Jennifer's story proves is that time cannot erase truth. Even after nearly 2 decades, her name still appears in news headlines, discussion boards, and vigils. Her face still surfaces in new documentaries and awareness campaigns. And that persistence has power. Because sometimes it's not new evidence that solves a case, it's renewed attention. Someone remembers a detail, someone recognizes a face, someone finally speaks, and when that moment comes, years of waiting can suddenly collapse into clarity. The Kesse family still believes that moment will come, and so do millions of people who have followed Jennifer's story. Today, across the United States, an estimated 600,000 people are reported missing each year. Most are found, but tens of thousands remain lost. Behind every one of those names is a story like Jennifer's, ordinary people who disappeared between the lines of daily life. Jennifer's legacy stands as a reminder that those stories matter. Her family continues to fund awareness campaigns, partner with advocacy groups, and support research into emerging investigative technology. They've become champions for the voiceless, ensuring that no missing person fades quietly into statistics. Through their courage, Jennifer's light continues to reach others, guiding families through their own storms of uncertainty. Jennifer Kesse's disappearance will always be one of the most haunting mysteries in modern America. A young woman with everything to live for gone without a trace, her fate sealed by silence and shadows. But her story is not a story of despair. It's a story of endurance, because Jennifer's life continues to change lives. Her name continues to inspire reform. Her memory continues to remind us that even when answers are lost, love still remains, and that love her family's love, the world's love, ensures that Jennifer will never truly vanish. Somewhere, someone still knows what happened. Somewhere, a piece of the truth still exists waiting for discovery. Until that day, Jennifer's family will keep fighting. The world will keep listening. And her story will keep echoing through time, because though Jennifer Kesse vanished without a trace, her light never went out. To Jennifer's family, and to every family waiting for answers, your courage is the thread that keeps hope alive. Your fight reminds the world that justice may be delayed, but it is never forgotten. May Jennifer's story continue to guide us toward truth, compassion, and the day when every missing soul is finally brought home. Jennifer Kesse's disappearance did more than haunt a family. It reshaped the tools, priorities, and perspectives of modern law enforcement. Her case became a catalyst for innovation in missing person investigations, influencing countless cold cases across the United States. Today, advances in forensic genealogy, DNA microanalysis, and AI-powered surveillance reconstruction are solving cases that once seemed impossible. Investigators are now able to identify suspects decades after the crime, trace unknown individuals through distant relatives, and pinpoint locations through digital footprints. Across the country, stories are emerging of families finally finding closure thanks to technologies that didn't exist in 2006. One man, missing for over 20 years, was identified through a genealogical DNA match that traced him back to his family. A woman abducted as a teenager was found alive because enhanced AI surveillance captured the subtle gait of her abductor, a method inspired by Jennifer's haunting Huntington on the Green footage. Even law enforcement training has changed. Officers now receive specialized instruction in handling adult disappearances, analyzing partial footage, and collaborating with private experts. Jennifer's case is frequently cited as a turning point proof that diligence, persistence, and innovation can overcome years of silence. Her legacy is more than technology, it's awareness. Families of the missing are empowered to speak out, to demand accountability, and to never allow their loved ones' stories to be forgotten. Beyond technology and law enforcement, Jennifer's story has touched hearts worldwide. The Kesse family's dedication demonstrates the resilience of human love in the face of unimaginable uncertainty. Their fight has inspired communities to rally, strangers to investigate, and victims' stories to be remembered. Jennifer's case reminds us that behind every missing person statistic is a life, a face, a family, a future stolen too soon. And while technology may one day uncover the truth, it is human persistence, compassion, and memory that keep the search alive. Jennifer Kesse's disappearance is more than a cold case. It is a story of hope amid despair, of courage amid uncertainty, and of love that refuses to fade. Her family continues to fight, tirelessly and without pause. Investigators continue to search, armed with tools Jennifer's case helped inspire, and the public continues to watch, remember, and advocate. Somewhere, the truth exists, a detail, a witness, a piece of evidence waiting to be uncovered. And when it is found, it will not only bring answers to Jennifer's family, but justice for her memory. Jennifer may have vanished without a trace, but her story, her light, and her legacy remain illuminating the path for families, investigators, and communities determined never to forget. To Jennifer Kesse's family, and to all those still searching for missing loved ones, your strength and unwavering hope are a beacon. Your fight reminds the world that every life matters, every story deserves to be told, and every missing person deserves justice. Jennifer's memory continues to inspire action, compassion, and the relentless pursuit of truth until the day she is finally found.